Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've been with us for a while, you already know what time it is. We are back with another Kwababa recap, and today's episode had family drama, gossip, emotional moments, and some serious questions about loyalty and fatherhood. Today's episode is episode 57, titled, You Found a Father in Me. And honestly, that title tells us a lot about where today's story is heading. We see Solomon stepping into a very important father figure role, while Mokumalo finds herself in trouble because of gossip. At the same time, the complicated situation involving Zwelakhe, Bahumi, and the Mackay's family continues to create tension. So grab your tea, sit back, and let's break down everything that happened. The episode starts with tension. Right from the beginning, you can feel that things are not completely peaceful within the family. Everyone is trying to carry on with their lives, but there is clearly tension underneath the surface. And that's something Kwababa does really well. One problem doesn't even have time to disappear before another one comes along. Characters are keeping secrets, people are talking behind each other's backs, and everyone seems to have their own version of the truth. And today's episode is no different. The biggest question is not simply who did what. The real question is, who knows the truth, who only knows part of it, and who is deliberately hiding something? And believe me, that question becomes more important as the episode continues. Mokumalo's gossip comes back to haunt her. Now let's talk about Mokumalo. Guys, this woman really needs to learn when to keep quiet. Mokumalo's habit of talking about other people's business finally starts creating problems for her. At first, it may have seemed like harmless gossip. But we all know how gossip works. You tell one person something. That person tells another person. And before you know it, the entire family knows. That's basically what starts happening here. The things Mokumalo has been saying begin coming back to her, and suddenly she finds herself having to explain herself. And honestly, I was sitting there thinking, Mokumalo, did you really think nobody was going to find out? Because once you start talking about people in a family where everyone knows everyone else's business, you better be prepared for those words to come back. And that's exactly what happens. The situation gets worse. As the episode moves forward, Mokumalo realizes that her words have traveled much further than she expected. Now she's not dealing with just one person. She's potentially dealing with several people who have heard different versions of the same story. And that's dangerous. Because once people hear something, they start creating their own conclusions. Even if Mokumalo tries to explain what she actually meant, the damage may already be done. That's one of the biggest problems with gossip. You can explain your intentions, but you can't control what people believe after hearing your words. And I think Mokumalo is starting to realize that now. Solomon steps forward. Now we get to one of the most important parts of today's episode. Solomon. The episode title, You Found a Father in Me, puts a huge spotlight on Solomon's role. And honestly, this is where the episode becomes much more emotional. Solomon steps forward at a time when someone needs guidance, support, and someone to lean on. And instead of simply watching from the sidelines, Solomon chooses to be there. That's important. Because being a father isn't always about biology. Sometimes, a father figure is simply the person who stands beside you when everything is falling apart. And Solomon appears ready to take on that responsibility. Solomon shows his emotional side. One thing I really liked about today's episode is that we get to see a softer side of Solomon. He's not simply reacting to problems. He's actually listening. He's trying to understand what someone else is going through. And sometimes that's exactly what people need. They don't always need someone to solve their problems. Sometimes they just need somebody to say, I'm here for you. That's what makes Solomon's storyline so meaningful. It also raises an interesting question. Can someone become family without sharing the same blood? I think today's episode is definitely asking us to think about that. Zwelakhe and Bahumi. Of course, we can talk about Kwababa without talking about Zwelakhe and Bahumi. Their relationship has never been simple. There is love between them, but there is also family pressure, tradition, expectations, and all the problems surrounding the Mambokazi family. And that makes their future incredibly complicated. Zwelakhe wants his own happiness. Bahumi wants a future with him. But the family situation keeps pulling them in different directions. And honestly, sometimes I look at these two and think, can you guys please just have one peaceful day? But this is Kwababa we're talking about. Peace never seems to last very long. Bahumi's difficult position. Bahumi is also facing her own difficult choices. On one side, she wants to build a future with Zwelakhe. But on the other side, she knows that being connected to the Mambokazi family means being connected to all their problems. And that's a lot to deal with. Imagine trying to build a relationship while constantly worrying about family politics, secrets, expectations, and conflict. At some point, you have to ask yourself, is this relationship worth everything I'm going through? And I think that's one of the questions Bahumi may eventually have to answer. Mambokazi is still applying pressure. And then, of course, we have Mambokazi. If you've been watching Kwababa, you already know that Mambokazi is not someone who simply sits back and lets things happen. She has strong opinions. She has expectations. And she wants things done her way. Her patience also appears to be getting thinner. And that's a serious warning sign. Because whenever Mambokazi reaches the point where she's had enough, you already know things are about to get messy. I have a feeling we're going to see even more conflict from her in the episodes ahead. Family versus love. One of the strongest themes running through today's episode is the conflict between family responsibility and personal happiness. What do you choose? Do you choose your family? Do you choose the person you love? Do you follow tradition? Or do you choose your own future? That's exactly the kind of situation Zwelakhe finds himself in. He doesn't want to lose Bahumi. But walking away from his family responsibilities isn't easy either. And that's why he's constantly under pressure. Honestly, I don't even blame him completely. He's caught between two worlds. But at some point, he's going to have to make a serious decision. The father figure storyline. Let's go back to Solomon for a moment. I think his storyline could become much bigger than what we're seeing right now. If Solomon is genuinely stepping into a father figure role, then this could change his relationship with the family. Maybe he'll become the person who protects someone during a difficult situation. Maybe he'll become involved in a bigger family conflict. Or, and here's my prediction, there could be something from Solomon's own past that we don't know about yet. And you know how these dramas work. When a character suddenly becomes emotionally important, there is usually more to the story. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on Solomon. Mambokazi faces the consequences. Meanwhile, Mambokazi has to face the consequences of her actions. And honestly, I think this could be a lesson for her. Gossiping is easy. Dealing with the consequences is much harder. Now she has to think carefully about who she trusts, who she talks to, and what information she shares. Because once trust is broken inside a family, rebuilding it isn't easy. And that's exactly where Mambokazi seems to be heading. The tension builds toward the end. As the episode moves closer to the end, things don't really become simpler. Instead, the situation becomes more complicated. Solomon's emotional storyline continues. Mambokazi is dealing with the consequences of her gossip. Zwelakhe and Bahumi are still trying to figure out their future. And Mambokazi's growing frustration is hanging over everything. It's basically one problem after another. And that's why Kwababa keeps us watching. Just when you think you've figured out what's going to happen, something changes. My thoughts on today's episode. Personally, I think Solomon's storyline was one of the strongest parts of today's episode. The fatherhood theme gives the story an emotional layer that goes beyond simple family arguments. It makes us ask an important question. Does being a father require a biological connection, or can someone become a father through love, responsibility, and support? I also think Mokumalo's storyline was interesting because it shows just how quickly gossip can destroy relationships. And then we have Zwelakhe and Bahumi. Their relationship continues to be caught between love and family pressure. They want happiness, but the Mackay's family drama keeps following them. What could happen next? Now let's get into my predictions. First, I think Solomon's role is going to become much bigger. If he's now becoming a father figure, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets involved in a major family conflict. He could become the person someone turns to when things get really bad. Second, I don't think Mokumalo's gossip problem is finished. There's a good chance that her words could reach even more people. And if that happens, we could see a major confrontation. Third, I think Zwelakhe and Bahumi are going to have to make a major decision about their future. They can't keep living in this constant cycle of family pressure forever. At some point, they are going to have to decide whether they're willing to fight for their relationship or walk away from the drama. But here's the thing. This is Kwababa. Whenever we think things are finally settling down, boom, another secret appears. Final thoughts. So guys, today's Kwababa episode definitely gave us plenty to talk about. Mokumalo's gossip is creating problems. Solomon is stepping into an important father figure role. Zwelakhe and Bahumi are still trying to figure out their future. And Mambokazi's patience seems to be running out. Personally, I think we're heading toward an even bigger family confrontation. And if Solomon becomes more deeply involved, the story could take a completely different direction. But now I want to hear from you. What did you think about today's episode? Do you think Solomon will really become a father figure? Do you think Mokumalo is going to face even bigger consequences because of her gossip? And most importantly, do you think Zwelakhe and Bahumi can actually have a future together? Drop your predictions in the comments because I want to know what you guys think is coming next. And if you enjoyed this recap, make sure you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next Kwababa recap. Share this video with another Kwababa fan who never misses an episode. I'll see you guys in the next recap. Until then, take care. And remember, in Kwababa, peace never lasts for long. See you in the next one. Red Heart.